Well, the curtain falls on Fight Camp in just 24 hours' time. Last year, Alexander Povetkin was the last man standing. Who will it be this year? Ricards Bolotniks or Joshua Buatsi? High stakes in our light heavyweight main event here at Fight Camp. And Darren Barker, we're here at the weigh-in this afternoon. I can't believe it's nearly over, mate.
I know. It's always sad. Last year we was distraught, weren't we? My cricket days have been over since last year's Fight Camp. But yeah, it is the last one, but what a way to end the show. I mean, the top of the bill for me is one of the best fights out there. It's a blinder. If you know your boxing and you've studied Ricards Bolotniks, you know he's a serious fighter. And Buatsi, we see him last time out. He's the future star of British boxing.
I guess we find out tonight. We'll find out tomorrow night, yeah. 5 fights on the televised bill, starts at 7 o'clock local time, on Dazn around the world, of course here in the UK. 2 fights on before the bell, which starts at 5:30 local time here in England. The first of those is Barrett and Simeon. 8 3-minute rounds lightweight contest, and both the guys are now ready to weigh in, so I'll hand you over to our MC for the afternoon, Mr. David Diamante.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what an absolute pleasure it is to welcome everybody here to Matchroom headquarters in Brentwood, Essex, England, for the official weigh-in for the 3rd and final week of Fight Camp 2021. And it's all being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing. We are sponsored by Betfred, StubHub, Wow Hydrate, and JD Sports. Now, on Saturday night, all of the bouts will be sanctioned under the auspices of the British Boxing Board of Control, and the steward in charge is Mr. Charles Giles. And of course, all the action will be streamed exclusively live around the world on Dazn. Ladies and gentlemen, 7 fights, 3 title fights, and 1 world title eliminator. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring the fighters up to the stage so they can face the scale and face each other. Our first contest, 8 rounds in the lightweight division. And now making his way to the stage, please welcome his record 22-6 with 9 knockouts, fighting out of Bucharest, Romania. Here is Valerio Bombardier Simeon. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. His professional record, 25 victories, only 1 defeat. He has 15 wins coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Manchester, England, here is the reigning Commonwealth and IBF Intercontinental Super Featherweight Champion, Zelfa Brown Flesh Barrett. And now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, Viorel Bombardier Simeon. $139 3/4 pounds for Simeon. And now to the scale, the young Mancunian prospect, Zelfa Brown Flash Barrett. $136 1/4 for Zelfa Barrett. Barrett v. Simeon, 8 rounds lightweight to kick us off Saturday night, Matchroom Boxing and Dazn.
So this kicks off action on Before the Bell around about 5:30 local time tomorrow. Zelfa Barrett back in action for the first time since that controversial victory over Kiko Martinez, which he says he wants to defend, he wants to avenge. For Simeon, hasn't had a significant win since that victory over Andoni Gargo for about 4 years ago now. So we know he's kind of past his best, but the aim is for Zelfa to go out and make a statement, and I think you expect him to get the job done inside the distance.
I think so. I said to you there about 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah.
If you see him last time out, Scully, he was hurt around the body quite a lot, so I think he'll target the body and he should get to work and get the job done around 4 or 5, I think.
Okay, big night for Ricards Bolotniks, who opened the show against Jordan Gill unsuccessfully, it has to be said, this time last year. He's up against the young American prospect Ray Ford, who himself coming off the back of a controversial draw. These two meet in battle in our second contest of the night. Let's head back over to David.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next contest, 10 rounds for the vacant WBA Continental Featherweight Championship. And now making his way to the stage, his professional record, 14 victories, 4 defeats. He has 12 of his 14 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of South Oxy, Watford, England. Here is the former English, Commonwealth, and WBC International Silver Featherweight Champion, Ricards Bolotniks. Belotti. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. His professional record is undefeated thus far, 8 wins, no defeats, 1 draw. He has 4 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the talented young prospect fighting out of Camden, New Jersey, USA, Raymond Savage Ford. Now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, the bomber, Ricards Bolotniks. $125.25 for Ricards Bolotniks. $125.25. And now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, the undefeated Raymond Savage Ford. $126, bang on, 126 pounds even for Raymond Savage Ford. Raymond Ford v. Ricards Bolotniks, 10 rounds for the vacant WBA Continental Featherweight Championship.
So Ray Ford looking to get back to winning ways after that draw with Aaron Perez. I think sometimes over 8 rounds you can get a little bit complacent in the early stages. I think he was guilty of almost data gathering, waiting a little bit too long. And I mean, you give away 2 of the first 4 rounds against a fighter, and they pinch, one of the last 4. Suddenly, if a judge sees it a different way, you find yourself staring in the face of a draw. Craig Richards had the same thing. Not too long before he fought Dimitri Bivol. It can happen, and perhaps he got a little bit complacent. He said that he felt that
there was a lot going on.
Yeah, he said he just became a dad for the first time, and that of course can put pressures on a fighter, but he wants to prove that he's much better than that. But
I think there's question marks, Chris. If I'm honest, he didn't look comfortable on the back foot. When he's in the centre of the ring and he's let his hands go, he looks $1 million. On the back foot, not so much. Okay, well, one man we know loves to fight in the pocket on the front foot is Cash Farouk. He's in another tough test against a Mexican with a fabulous story in Luis Gerardo Castillo. This is the first bout on the Dazn broadcast, 7 o'clock local time. Let's hand you over to David to introduce both the fighters to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next contest to weigh in 10 rounds for the vacant WBC International Bantamweight Championship. And now making his way to the stage, his professional record, 28 victories, 2 defeats. He has 18 big wins coming by way of knockout. Damas y caballeros, presentando el hijo de Jiquipilco, Estado de México, México. Please welcome La Sombra, Gerardo Castillo. Castillo. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. His professional record, 15 victories, only 1 defeat. He has 6 wins coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Glasgow, Scotland, here is the former Scottish area, British, and WBC International Silver Bantamweight Champion, the untouchable Cash Farouk. And now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, Gerardo Castillo. $116.25 for La Sombra. $116.25 for Castillo. And now to the scale, the untouchable Cash Farouk. $117.5 for Cash Farouk. $117.5. Farouk v. Castillo, 10 rounds for the vacant WBC International Bantamweight Championship, Matchroom Boxing.
Difficult one to call this, because there isn't a great deal on Luis Gerardo Castillo.
There isn't.
And you know, looking at his record and hearing from his coach, he said, look, I don't even think the 2 defeats that are on his record were defeats. You could be looking at a kid that's 30-0 with 18 stoppages, and that, I mean, we know Farouk deals with Mexican style well, but that is a danger man if ever we've seen it.
Well, absolutely, especially with the backstory and what he's going through and what he's trying to achieve to change his life. And those who, I'm sure you have heard it, if you haven't, go and check it out on all the Matchroom's channels. You'll find out a bit about him. But it's a remarkable story, and when you've got someone like that who's trying to change their life,
dangerous,
very dangerous. And the thing is, I don't suppose the team have seen much of him, so he's an unknown quantity. How do you devise a game plan when you don't really know how the guy boxes? Dangerous.
Very, very interesting. That's 10 rounds for the WBC International Bantamweight title. Super Bantamweight. Hopey Price continues his apprenticeship. He's up against Claudio Grande ahead of a big clash with Zahid Hussein, the current Central Area Featherweight champion, on the Josh Warrington undercard on the 4th of September. So he cannot afford a slip-up young Hopey Price. He is ready to weigh in, as is Claudio Grande. Back to David.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next contest, 6 rounds of boxing scheduled in the Super Bantamweight division. And we've got 2 young undefeaters going against each other head-to-head. Introducing first to the stage, professional record, 5 wins, no defeats. He has 3 wins coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Massa, Toscana, Italia. Please welcome Claudio Super Grande. And his opponent now making his way to the stage, also a perfect professional record, 4 fights, 4 victories, one of them coming by way of knockout. Here is the highly skilled young southpaw prospect fighting out of Leeds, England, Hopey Price. And out of the scale, ladies and gentlemen, Claudio Super Grande. $121.5 for Grande. $121.5 for Claudio Super Grande. And now to the scale, the undefeated young charge from Leeds, Hopi Price. $123 3/4 for Hopi Price. 123 3/4 pounds. Price v. Grande, 6 rounds, super bantamweight, Saturday night, Matchroom Boxing and Dazn.
Yeah, it's a super bantamweight contest, though. It's been made at £124, I guess, because they don't want to boil Hopi all the way down to 122, knowing he's going to box there in 4 weeks' time. Looking physically much stronger, isn't he? Starting to go from boy to man now, isn't he?
Yeah, you can just look at the confidence on his face. He's just always smiling. He loves the sport. He lives and breathes it. He's got a great coach in Dave Caldwell who truly believes in him, and the journey's been fantastic. And this is another one that Grande, we've not been able to find much on him, but he's unbeaten. There's 3 stoppages in the 5 wins, so he's coming to win. He's coming, like all of these away fighters, to come in and potentially change his life.
Okay, so that's second on the televised bill. Third is the excellent Michael Mckinson, who made a big statement at welterweight with the beating of Chris Congo earlier on this year in Gibraltar. He's up against Slavranovsky. This one is 10-rounder, 3-minute rounds for the WBO global title. And I'll hand you back over to David.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, 10 rounds of boxing scheduled for the WBO Global Welterweight Championship. Introducing up first to the stage, his professional record, 19 victories, only 1 defeat. He has 5 wins coming by way of knockout. He fights out of Słupska, Poland. He's the former WBC youth silver and intercontinental champion. Please welcome Przemysław Ranowski. And his opponent now making his way to the stage, he is the defending titleist. His professional record, a perfect one. 20 fights, 20 victories, 2 wins coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Portsmouth, England, here is the reigning, defending, undefeated WBO Global Welterweight Champion, ranked number 4 in the world by the WBO, Mikey, the Problem Mckinson. And now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, Przemysław Ranowski. $146 146 for the challenger, Przemysław Ranowski. And now to the scale, the undefeated charge from Pompey. Here is Mikey, the Problem Mckinson. $146.5 for the defending champion, Mikey, the Problem Mckinson. Mckinson v. Przemysław, 10 rounds for the WBO Global Welterweight Championship. Saturday night, Matchroom Boxing and Dazn.
A WBO global title over the shoulder of Michael Mckinson, but more importantly, 4th place in those WBO rankings to protect. Expecting a clinic from him?
Yeah, do you know what? This is no disrespect to Slavranovsky at all. I think he's a credible opponent. I think he's a very good opponent for Mckinson, but I think Mckinson pretty much wins every round.
Right.
And that's because I'm impressed with him. I think he's so awkward. He's so slick. He's quick. Again, I've said it before, his nickname, the problem, is so perfect for him. And I expect him to put on a clinic.
Okay, so that is 3rd before the top of the bill. The chief support, Joe Cordina, back in action against Joshua Hernandez from the United States. This one could be fight of the night, or close to it, certainly. Both guys ready to weigh in 10 rounds at lightweight. This has handed you back over to David.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to weigh in the chief support for Saturday night's great night of fights. And it's a 10-round lightweight affair. Making his way to the stage at this time, 10 wins, 3 defeats. He has 8 wins coming by way of knockout. He represents Lares, Puerto Rico, and fights out of Chicago, Illinois, USA. Here is the Windy City Kid, Joshua Hernandez. And his opponent now making his way to the stage. He is a 2016 Olympian, and he now boasts a perfect professional record. 12 fights, 12 victories, 7 of them coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Cardiff, Wales, here is the former British and Commonwealth and the reigning and undefeated WBA Continental Super Featherweight Champion, the Welsh Wizard, Joe Cordina. And now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Hernandez. 132 3/4 for the Windy City Kid. 132 3/4 for Joshua Hernandez. And now to the scale, the undefeated Welsh Wizard, Joe Cordina. 134 bang on, 134 even. Joe Cordina v. Joshua Hernandez. 10 rounds, lightweights, chief support, Saturday night, Fight Camp 2021.
So this one made it 134, of course, because Cordina was due to box in about 4 weeks from now, and I guess weight-wise they didn't want to kind of bring him all the way down. It probably suited Hernandez as well. But I think over the 10 rounds, that probably suits Cordina, doesn't it? Having an extra 3 or 4 rounds to play with, being a little bit stronger. But it's going to be about whether Hernandez can unsettle him early and whether he feels that power.
Yeah, look, Hernandez is a very good body puncher. He likes to force the action. Joe, we know how slick he is, but it's just that question mark about the punch power. When he steps through the level, is he going to be able to stop people in his track? So that's always going to remain the question. I think it will carry on into this fight. Can he stop Hernandez coming forward? He's such a classy fighter, Joe. Just want to see him, bite down on that gum shield and really put his shots together.
Great stuff. Well, his Olympic stablemate from Rio, Joshua Buatsi, is our headline attraction. He is in the acid test of his career so far against Ricards Bolotniks. WBA world title eliminated between these two over 12 rounds at 175. They are ready to weigh in. Let's head back over to David.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to weigh in the main event for Saturday night's huge night of boxing. 12 rounds for the WBA light heavyweight world title eliminator. And now making his way to the stage, here is the he's actually not the challenger because the WBA international title is not on the line. This is a world title eliminator. Now making his way to the stage, 18 wins, 5 defeats, 1 draw. He has 8 wins coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Riga, Latvia, he is the reigning WBO European light heavyweight champion, ranked number 3 in the world by the WBA. Here is Richard, the Lion Bolotniks. And his opponent now making his way to the stage, perfect professional record, 14 wins, no defeats. He has 12 wins coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Croydon, London, England, he is the 2016 Olympic bronze medalist, ranked number 2 in the world by the WBA. Here is the reigning, defending, undefeated WBA international light heavyweight champion, Joshua Buatsi. And now to the scale, ladies and gentlemen, Richard, the Lion Bolotniks. 174.5 for Richard the Lion Bolotniks, 174.5. And now to the scale, the undefeated charge from Croydon, London, England, Joshua Buatsi. 174 3/4 pounds, 174 3/4 for Joshua Buatsi. Joshua Buatsi v. Richard Bolotniks, 12 rounds for the WBA light heavyweight world title eliminator.
So the final stare down between these two before they meet in the ring in our headliner tomorrow night, and Buatsi refuses the fist bump, which is, well, unlike him,
yeah,
but
it is.
He is also locked in, and we know what a compassionate guy he is, how zen he can be, but that kind of tunnel does narrow as fight night approaches, and by the time he gets in the changing room, I'm lucky enough to have been there, he is fully locked in, and he will be, and he knows the seriousness of the man in front of him, and he knows the seriousness of the occasion as well.
Absolutely. Look, this is a fight at the end of the day. You always try and show respect, but he's fired up for it, and you can understand it. The pot of gold for the winner here is so huge. This is potentially, goes on to a world title final eliminator or a shot itself. You just don't know. It's massive. It's massive, and we get to find out how good he really is.
Remember how high Barry Hearn was on him after the Rio Olympic Games. He was one of the star performers of the entire competition. He came away with a bronze medal, but stopped a couple of the best fighters in the world, and he put an absolute beating on Afil Ben Shabla, who's the best fighter on the African continent at the weight, and was still boxing in Tokyo. But he has had a slow bit of progress as a professional. Obviously had a couple of injury problems, and of course the pandemic has put paid to some of his ambitions, and one or two slightly higher level fights fell through. A lot of the British opposition wouldn't fight him either, so he was not an easy guy to get those fights for. But this is one man who he knows is dangerous and is coming to win. And I think you would say a bona fide and a decent title eliminator at this stage. The winner should go on to maybe some sort of final eliminator.
Definitely. I think, look, let's judge and criticise or praise Buatsi properly after this fight.
Yeah.
You know, because this is a proper fight. Bolotniks, he's no mug. He's a proper winner. We see that on the golden contract, etc. He's a handful. Desperate to win this, in amazing shape. Let's judge Buatsi after this fight. But one thing's for sure, it's a massive fight, it's a huge fight, and the winner of this goes on to big things.
And will be gobsmacked if it doesn't catch fire at some point. 12 rounds, title eliminator at 175. Joshua Buatsi and Ricards Bolotniks topping a bill of 7 fights here on the final night of Fight Camp. We'll be back tomorrow, 5:30 local time for Before the Bell for those first 2 fights. For Barrett, Reece Belotti and Ray Ford. But of course, you've got the Dazn boxing show a little bit earlier than that. So plenty of content across the Dazn platform and Matchroom Boxing social media all tomorrow. Have a good Friday night, guys, and we will see you tomorrow afternoon.
Bye-bye.